you need to take off, you can.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to find something.
Hey everybody, welcome to the NPFL Roundtable, the podcast that is going to take you inside the league, the National Professional Fishing League. We are here at Santee Cooper where the 2025 season is going to open. My name is Ken Duke. I'm going to introduce a couple of fabulous guests coming up in just a moment. We are live from the Gullah Gullah Fish restaurant in Manning, South Carolina. We're about to hit the Santee Cooper Lakes here in the middle of South Carolina. That's Marion and Moultrie. We're going to get into that. The tournament starts Thursday, March 6th, and today was the first day of practice for these anglers. 118 strong, the strongest field the National Professional Fishing League has ever assembled. Let's get started. My first guest has become a friend of mine last season and in the off season. I'm proud to introduce Alexander Wilson from Elmore, Alabama. Alex, you are not just our first guest under the new production company, Fullcom Media, but you're also kind of a guinea pig because this is our first effort with a new production effort. So welcome to Roundtable.
Thank you so much.
Now, I mentioned I think you're from Elmore, Alabama, and you're a bass pro.
I am.
And I know that this is a dream come true for you to fish at such a high level now. But I want people to know that like everybody else who fishes professionally at a high level, you've made sacrifices to get here.
Yes. And
this is not how you've made your livelihood. Let's talk a little bit about what you do for a living when you're not fishing.
Well, I as a child and in high school, I've always had a fascination of how the human heart works. So I made it my business to learn that, in high school, and I always told my mom that's what I wanted to do for a living, is to help people and mend their hearts when it's broken. So I right now I'm currently working at Baptist South Medical Center, and I've been a cardiovascular technologist for about 34 years now.
Cardiovascular technologist.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of syllables. I'm a bass fishing guy. Tell me what that is.
So I'm the first assistant to cardiologist in doing a lot of different heart procedures.
Okay.
Such as heart surgery. So I mainly specialize in structural heart, and that's basically, repairing the inside of the heart with different types of technological devices that we use. I implant heart pacemakers and defibrillators. People that have heart attacks, we go in with balloons and stents and open up blockages. And we also put in a bovine PIGS valve. So we will replace a person's aortic valve with a PIGS valve.
Amazing.
It's amazing, man.
Okay, so you're super smart. I get that.
I would say.
What got you into bass fishing? How'd you get into that?
Oh, so bass fishing is no one in my family really bass fished.
Is that right?
My granddad he taught me how to fish for bluegill, but I'm going to tell you how I got started with bass fishing. I was just sitting home on Sundays after church. I would watch Bill Dance and Roland Martin and all those guys, and I was just fascinated on how they can use something that's not alive, and trick that bass into biting it. So that was, I was just totally amazed at that. So I taught myself how. I've read books, I watched videos, and I just went on the water and just applied my knowledge that I gained by watching those things and reading.
It's amazing how people find our sport of bass fishing. One of the things I think is so great about bass fishing is whether you want to have a cane pole with a night crawler on the bank of a creek, or get in a $100,000 boat like you guys are doing this week at Santee Cooper and fish with the latest technology and all the wonderful equipment. There is a level for everyone.
Yes.
And what got you into the competition part of it all?
Well, I started out with a local bass club, and I I won a lot of Angler of the Years, a lot of classics. So my knowledge base, I just had a need to increase it. And I knew I couldn't do it there, so I had to step out and started fishing, bigger tournaments. So I just eventually worked up through the local, the regional, and now I'm here.
Now the National Professional Fishing League. We're thrilled to have you here
Thank
at the
you, sir.
NPFL.
Appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
It's your second season with the NPFL. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support of the league and all you bring to the league. And we want to get into that, too, in a minute. So
Okay.
it's a little offbeat aspect of what Alex Wilson brings to the NPFL that I think is exciting and shows aspect of the man's talent. But it's your second year. Your first year, not your greatest performance.
It was a learning curve for sure, yes.
Not your greatest performances, but what did you gain from that experience?
Well, when I came into this, my goals was to win, but I knew, that wouldn't be feasible, not with the different lakes that I've gone to and not knowing or having any knowledge of them.
Right.
So my goal for this first year, and I think I've achieved it because I'm sitting here with you, was to make really good friends and to, move myself into the family of the NPFL. Paul, Brad, just all of these guys, I was kind of nervous when I first got here, and they've treated me like family.
I love the word you use, family.
Yes.
And that's a word that gets used a lot around the NPFL,
yes.
and it's not overused, in my opinion.
No doubt.
This group is run with a skeleton crew of people, many of whom have an ownership interest in the company.
Yes.
And the people here are passionate about it. They love it.
Yep.
It's amazing to me how much gets done with so few people.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen unless the anglers cooperate and the anglers buy in. Because it could be very simple for any league to kind of disintegrate if there's dissension.
Right.
But I don't see that in this league, and I admire that tremendously.
That's what I love about it.
And so that's one of the reasons you're back, and that's wonderful. Now, the important question as we head into 2025, what are Alex Wilson's goals for 2025?
Well, my goal is to do better. The first year was a huge learning curve for me, but I was nervous, a lot of the times. But now I feel a whole lot more comfortable because I've gotten to know people. I know that their interest, for me to do well, that's in my best interest is to have a good family,
Yeah.
So yeah, most definitely.
Well, when we stepped into Gullah Gullah Fish, which is the restaurant we're in right now, and Alex was there when I walked in, and Todd Goad, who will be joining us in a little while, Todd was here, and they saw each other, and big hugs.
Yes.
Big hugs. It's I guess it's part of that family.
It is.
How important is it to develop those kind of relationships with your competitors?
Right. Well, yes, they're my competitors, but we all got to get along, and, we can be friends and still compete.
Absolutely.
So, I feel like my grandparents used to tell me you can attract a lot of, sugars and, flies with sugar than, not having, the right people in your corner. So if you develop those, friendships with these anglers, it's beneficial to you and them because it's not just fishing.
You mentioned that you were nervous in your first season.
Yes,
with the NPFL.
I was.
You never looked nervous to me.
Yeah, I was, though, Ken.
What made you nervous about it? Was it just that it was new, that it was a new level to compete at?
Well, I think it was, me knowing what was at stake, because winning one of these things can completely change your life.
Yeah. Not only a six-figure payday, but a lot of notoriety.
Yes.
I think a lot of people use winning a tournament at this level as kind of I don't know what to call it other than kind of it's self-gratification and it's proof to the angler that he can compete.
Right.
But you've had success at every other level you've fished at.
I have.
And you've established that you can compete at this level.
Right.
Did it take a season to get there?
Yes, it did. It did. Fishing against these caliber anglers, you don't do that every day. And, you just know that someone's going to come in with a good sack. And you try your best sometimes, but sometimes your best is just not good enough. But, just the process of it, man, I'm all good with it,
That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned fishing against this caliber of anglers. Well, that was 2024.
Right.
And it was an impressive field in 2024. But you and I just left the pre-tournament meeting for the season opener. And this year, in addition to the Patrick Walters and the Kyle Welchers and the Drew Cooks that we saw last year, and the David Fritzes and Tommy Biffles, We just saw the addition of Jason Christie and Greg Hackney and Gerald Swindle and Scott Canterbury and on, and Hank Cherry and on and on and on. The caliber in the league has just taken another quantum leap forward.
No doubt.
Is that intimidating?
Not really. I'm kind of honored because a lot of those guys you just mentioned, they're my heroes. And just for me to be amongst them and, to be able to fish against them, that nervousness that I told you about, I don't have that anymore.
That's wonderful.
So my motivation now is just go out and just have fun fishing. And I think that I could do well by just having fun.
I'm going to ask you a question I had not planned on asking you. But I bet you're going to give me the answer that every top pro I've ever worked with has had as an answer. Who is the only guy in the field who can beat Alex Wilson this week? Alex Wilson.
The only one. It would be me, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, yes, at the end of the day, we're going to look at the standings, and your name's going to be in there.
Right.
But none of those other guys has anything to do with where you rank.
Exactly.
And does that put more pressure on you or less pressure on you?
Actually, man, it puts less pressure on me because, I come into this year feeling the way that I've always felt when I go into a tournament, no matter if it's, local or national. I'm going to go fishing against the fish. So I've kind of put all of that other stuff out of my mind, and I'm going to go and fish against the fish and hope that I can beat the fish that particular day. So that's the way I'm thinking right now.
I want to get into that in one moment, but first I want to tell you, I confessed to Alex before we started the show tonight that one of the reasons I wanted him on the show, part of the fact that we've become friends over the past year, is that this is a man who kicks off a lot of NPFL events by singing the national anthem. He's got a fabulous singing voice. And if you ever tune in to the launches and catch some of the social media that's going on or get to attend an event, you're going to be very lucky if you get to hear Alex sing. How did you get into the singing thing?
Man, I started singing in church when I was 3. I'll never forget this. My mom, on Sunday, they wanted me to sing a song. I was little, but I loved to sing. I knew I loved to sing. And I was too small to go and stand above the pew, so they put 2 Coca-Cola boxes,
Great.
And I stood on top of those, and I sang my first song in church. And I've been singing ever since.
That's fantastic. That's a way to get over stage fright. Get them when they're so young they don't know what stage fright is.
Yeah, I love an audience. I love to sing. I don't have any nervousness about me when I do that because I believe God give everyone a gift, and it's up to you to find it and share it. He gave it to you. You share it amongst the world, and that's what I do.
That's wonderful. And again, the man can sing. He's just so good. I want to get into this tournament in particular.
Okay.
And I was planning on asking Alex all these questions about how that first day of practice went, but you've had some mechanical issues that have kept you from getting on the water. Tell us what's happened.
So basically, I was headed here on yesterday.
And
I'm from Montgomery, Alabama, about a little bit north of Montgomery, Alabama. And my trailer tire came completely off of my trailer. I was talking to, my wife, and I heard smoke. Well, I saw smoke out of my rearview mirror. And the next thing I know, when I pulled over, my tire came past me. So the whole wheel came off the trailer. So I went all the way back home to take my boat to my mechanic. And hopefully he can order that part overnight and have it Tuesday.
Right.
And because I'm going to be going back and forth. I came all the way up here just to sit down and talk with you. And, to do a little practicing with my friend J. Todd Tucker. He's going to let me ride along with him.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming out here to join us here on Roundtable tonight, but that was a tremendous sacrifice, especially when you have to deal with all these other technical issues.
Yeah, man. Drove 6 hours.
Alex, that's too much. That's too much. Well, and you mentioned J. Todd Tucker. Longtime pro, former Elite Series guy, qualified for the 2025 championship, which will be coming up in October. A lot of shows between now and then. But another great relationship. Is that a relationship you built through the NPFL? Or
yes,
did you have
it
that
was.
earlier?
Yeah. I've always idolized, J. Todd Tucker, when he was fishing Bassmasters. So we, he came up to me one day when we were at a practice day, and we just started talking, and we've been talking ever since. Just like you and I.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. I'm looking forward to fishing with him tomorrow.
There you go. And you guys are going to be practicing together, which, of course, is perfectly fine in the NPFL rules.
Yep.
And do you know how well your styles align?
I think our styles, we've already had a conversation as to what we're going to do. We're going to, I'm going to fish my strengths. We're not going to fish the same lures, of course, because we're trying to figure out what pattern that they're biting. So we're just going to do, 2 different lures and just hip-hop around the lake and just figure out what we need to do to catch them.
Leading me right into my favorite question, Alex. My favorite question that I ask bass pros like yourself is, how would you describe your fishing style? But I'm going to take a word out of your vocabulary. You cannot say versatile.
Okay.
You're not allowed to say that. Tell me about your fishing style.
Well, let me see.
Because everybody wants to tell me versatile. Everybody wants to say that. And
what about
true.
Adaptive?
That's too close.
Too close?
That's too close. Because, I've asked a million different bass pros this question. They all want to say versatile. Mm-hmm. And I believe it. Whatever it takes to catch these fish, a guy like Alex with this much experience, or a guy like a Greg Hackney, or a Kevin Van Dam, or a Drew Cook, or a Kyle Welcher, they can figure it out and find a way to catch them. But what would you say is your wheelhouse?
I would say, fishing is, as many different lures as I can, and just let the fish tell me,
okay.
what the fish are wanting.
All right.
Because a lot of times.
So you're good at breaking it down.
Yeah. Right. A lot of times we will fish and we get so tied up in the moment of catching them, we don't really listen to what the fish are telling us. Well, this is what I want today.
All right.
And, you have to change on the fly and just be, ready to listen whenever they tell you what you need to know.
I'm gonna approach the same. This is kind of the same question, but I'm going to come at it a little different angle here. We're at Santee Cooper.
Yep.
Famous for shallow water cover. There's a world of cypress trees out there. There's still a bunch of standing timber that's mostly under the surface now. These lakes were built in 1941.
Long time
ago. Most of that stuff is rotted out, the old stuff, but the cypress is still there. What do the conditions need to be like for you to have your greatest advantage?
Well, I think that, with me, I love flipping.
Okay.
I love flipping and spinnerbaiting. So I think that the lake was set up, perfectly for me to do well if we keep having warm days.
And it is supposed to get warmer.
Yes.
As the tournament goes along.
Yes. I think a lot of fish right now are still, kind of in the pre-spawn, cycle. Yeah. And they're sitting there waiting for those warmer nights to move up and lay their eggs. So I'm hoping that I can find, a staging area that's going to, lead up to a big flat, and I kind of intercept them before they get there. I think that's going to be a more stable pattern, finding a deeper water pattern than, waiting for the waves of bass to move up.
Okay, so you think they're just before they move up to spawn, so they're at that first drop?
Yes.
That a little creek or a little
They're at that contour change that's, they're shallow enough, but it's deep enough to feel, for them to feel comfortable to slide up and down as needed until the water temperature stabilizes.
So we may just be talking about a drop from 3 to 4 feet, which would be the shallow spawning areas, down into 5 or 6 feet.
Right.
Might be enough to hold them.
Right.
Now, when you mentioned flipping and you mentioned throwing a spinnerbait, sounds to me, and of course you're from Alabama, so I don't want to limit Alabama anglers, but Alabama is a power fishing state for the most part. Yeah, you got Smith Lake and some other finesse kind of places, but Alabama, I think guys throw a swim jig. I think guys pitching and flipping, throwing a spinnerbait, a bladed jig, something like that. Is that maybe your favorite way to catch them?
Not really. My favorite way to catch bass is deep. I love fishing deep. My favorite technique is throwing a deep diving crankbait. Okay,
so maybe your favorite range is what do you want to say, 10 to 15?
Yep, 10 to 15 feet. But I know that these fish are, coming up to spawn, so I gotta adapt, and know that that's probably the way I'm going to catch some fish. but I can also still catch them the way I like to catch them. So I'm gonna kind of mix it up.
I like it. And you told me before we started the show tonight that you have absolutely no experience on Santee Cooper.
None.
You certainly know it by reputation, though.
Yes.
And you've probably seen.
Now I've done my homework. Now
I know. I get it.
Most definitely. I know
what
these fish are wanting to bite.
The guy who makes his living doing heart surgery. I believe you've done your homework. What is it that excites you about Santee Cooper?
Oh man, the big fish here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Ken, there's some huge fish in this lake.
Well, somebody was telling me about a tournament that I think it was just a one-day derby that took place just a week or so ago. And, of course, the weather conditions were very different.
Right.
But it took like 35 pounds, and big fish was 13 and change. Is that what I heard? Is that right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's monstrous. And I bet you know this, but the biggest bag ever weighed in an NPFL event happened right here.
I'm not surprised at all.
2023, the year before you joined NPFL, I think day 2, Quentin Capo. This was in May, too, when the fish were not at their heaviest, maybe. But Quentin Capo went out and caught a bag that weighed 30 pounds even.
Wow. That's a bag.
That's a bag. But that kind of bag is absolutely possible this week.
No doubt.
And a lot is going to depend on the weather. Now, let's change gears a little bit about the weather. You mentioned you'd like it to be warming. It looks like you're going to get that. But Thursday, which is supposed to be the opening day of the tournament, right now they're calling for a lot of wind.
Right.
And we're talking about sustained winds of 20 plus and gusts to 40. And that may mean that day 1 gets canceled.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And of course, it would not be safe out there. No. It wouldn't be responsible under those conditions to get out there. But what would you like to see when you launch as far as air temperatures and sunlight and things like that? What would you like to see for you?
Well, I would like to see, a lot of sun, because that sun is going to warm things up, and make the fish come up. But the wind, I was here actually 3 weeks ago. I come up to practice.
Gotcha.
And I couldn't even get out of the creek. The wind was so bad. So I know that if the wind comes, it's going to be harder for me because, with me not having any experience here.
Yeah.
And being really cautious, I'm going to have to kind of adapt and figure out how to catch them in that creek, but because I don't want to go out and put myself in harm's way.
Of course. And it sounds like you didn't get to have the practice experience you wanted.
I didn't.
Did you at least get to kind of get the lay of the lakes?
Actually, yeah, I did. I finally figured out. I caught 5 fish that day. So I figured out something as far as, what's giving me a clue as to what I need to do to catch a bass.
I got a totally unfair question for you, Alex.
What's that?
What do you think it might take to win here on a per day?
Per day?
Yeah. Is it going to take 20, 22, 23 per day?
I'm thinking 25 pounds, man.
Wow.
That if you because that's possible every day here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you get 20 pounds, you're going to be in the check cutting range. But as far as being in number 1 or number 2, if you can catch a 25-pound sack, you're going to win. I just feel like that. Now I might be wrong. It may be more than that.
Well, maybe I'm rooting it's more than that. I'd love to see somebody go out there and have 30 a day.
It's possible here.
It is. Mm-hmm. But, those fish that are staging, that are just off that first drop, they could move a lot over the course of 3 days.
They can.
And a guy could go out there potentially and catch 30 pounds one day and 12 the next.
Right.
And we see that at this time of year.
Yeah.
All over the country, or at least in the South, where right now we've got all these pre-spawn fish.
Right.
How will we know? If we're watching the live stream and watching the catches as they're coming in, how do we know if Alex Wilson is getting set up to have a strong day, or do you know yet because you haven't had a chance to practice?
I don't really know yet. I'm going to practice, like I said, the next couple of days.
Yeah,
so I'll have a better answer for you after a couple of days of fishing. I'm hoping they're good answers.
See, Alex, because of your trailer problems, I'm so mad at your trailer.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions I had for you, you don't have an answer for now because you weren't able to get out there, and I hate that for you. All right, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about, but not a lot of time on this show. Mm-hmm. Here's my question for you: how important is a good start to the season?
A very, very good start. I need a very good start. So, man, that would be huge for me because it'll build my confidence going into, Lake Norman and, just throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that I can have a good start. I'm gonna put in the effort to do it.
I know you are. You're at a disadvantage already, though, because of the trailer issues and not being able to launch your own boat and practice by yourself and fish where you want to practice.
Exactly.
That hurts.
It does.
Of the 6 regular season tournaments this year, what's the one you're most looking forward to?
I have to say the St. Lawrence River.
Whoa, you surprised me. You didn't pick one a couple hours from home.
No.
You didn't pick Logan Martin.
I've actually fished Lake Champlain a bunch and the St. Lawrence. The fishing up there, man, is absolutely amazing. It's just absolutely amazing.
It is. You got everybody catching 3.5 and 4 pound smallmouths all day.
New York is a special place when it comes to numbers in fish. They got the numbers and they got the good size up there. So
I got friends who call those New York fish stupid.
Yes. Well, I think they're just hungry.
We all like stupid
they're under
fish,
the ice half the year.
That's a good point. But I think we all like big, stupid fish.
Yes.
Those are my favorites.
Yes.
You show me a big, stupid fish, and even I have a chance to catch it. But you surprised me. I figured, okay, Alex is going to pick Logan Martin because he's probably got a lot of experience on Logan Martin.
I do. And that's one of my favorite lakes. But it's home. I've gotten kind of bored with home. I like going out, meeting new people, fishing new lakes, and doing new things.
Well, you're great at meeting new people, and you're an excellent angler.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope you wear them out this year on the NPFL tour.
I want to most definitely give it my best.
And I hope that trailer situation works itself out so that you can go pick up your boat on the day off.
Yes.
Which is Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And all the best to you this season, my friend.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Tear them up. Really appreciate your stopping by a round table.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. You have a blessed one, and I'll see you soon. Man.
I'll do it. You take care, and say hey to Jay Todd for me.
I sure will.
All right, folks. Stick with us here because we're not done. Alex Wilson, you think, oh, my God, that's a great show. But, no, we got more. We got Todd Goad. Alex, if you could – oh, there you go. That's okay. You're We're going to bring the owner of the restaurant on for a few minutes to tell us about the restaurant. Okay, great. Great. Oh, hey. As we mentioned, guys, we're here at Gullah Gullah Fish, which is a terrific restaurant here in Manning, South Carolina. Gullah's at 23 West Boyce Street. And welcome. Hey, Craig. Craig, I know your first name. What is your last name, sir? Let me get those headphones on you.
Yep.
Hey, Craig, we're rolling, right? We're on? Oh, good. Sorry, guys. Craig, we're here at Gullah Gullah. Man, this place has got some fabulous atmosphere. Introduce yourself.
My name is Craig Levy. I'm the owner of Gullah Gullah Fish Restaurant in Manning, South Carolina.
I love the vibe you got here. And it's a small restaurant, not a tremendous amount of seating, but I know from having talked to people around here, it's very popular. And tell us about the menu and the style you got going.
Well, we make a traditional Gullah food from Charleston. My mother's originally from South Carolina, but she moved to New York and raised me and my brother. And I came down here about 10, 15 years ago.
And you love it, I hope.
Yeah, I love it. My parents, when they first moved down here, they bought this building, and they didn't know what they was going to do with it. And then when I came down, I decided to open up a restaurant.
Yeah, this is downtown Manning, South Carolina. As I said, we're at 23 West Boyce Street in Manning, and it's a very vibrant area.
Right.
You've been here for 10, 15 years, so
yeah.
How long has the restaurant been open?
Oh, we've been open for 10 years. This will be our 10th year. Yep.
It looks like you guys were probably part of a resurgence of this area.
Yeah, when I first came down, it was a small town. Not too much stuff opened up, so we bought the restaurant to just bring something a little different that wasn't down here.
Yeah, this is a style of food that you don't see everywhere, and you guys obviously have a lot of authenticity with it, your mom being from
Yeah, so she
South Carolina.
cooks a lot of traditional Gullah food, which dates back from my grandmother and my great-grandmother.
Tell me about that. Describe that.
It's more of like traditional food, how she grew up, like a lot of home cooking. Like, as she grew up, a lot of stuff her mother taught her how to cook, and it was just like traditional food. Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the items on your menu. You got catfish, you got flounder, whiting, croaker.
Yep.
So you got a mix of fresh and salt.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of seafood and land food. So we do oxtails also, crab legs, baked turkey wings. It's a big variety of stuff that we cook, yeah. Chicken wings, yeah. And our crab legs are top notch. A lot of people come for the crab legs, yeah.
I know everything is fresh because I've heard great things
freshly
about your
cooked.
place.
Well, I go to Myrtle Beach twice a week, and I go to Georgetown to get a lot of my fresh shrimp. I clean it myself. Flounder's fresh, croaker's fresh, yeah.
Yeah, you're really close to the coast.
Yeah.
So it's easy for you to get the fresh stuff.
It makes a big difference. And people, when they taste it, they could tell between frozen and fresh.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And this is it's amazing, a very foodie community here.
Yeah.
People are serious about their food.
Yeah, a lot of people come and they say, make sure you have that waiting on us. And so it's a lot of people that like our food, and it really helps the community too. Yeah.
Talk about some of the sides you have, Craig.
So we do some collard greens with smoked turkey in it, which people love.
Oh, man.
So we put like a turkey leg in it, and we cook it down for about 5 hours and just take the bone out. All the meat falls off, and it's delicious. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
when are you open?
We're open every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11 to 9, 3 days a week.
11 to 9. That's a
yeah.
full day right there.
Yeah, full day. And the days that I'm off, I'm picking up food, going to Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's a small family operation, but
yeah, it's only me, my mother, my brother, my aunt, and that's basically it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that is fantastic.
That's been like that for 10 years, just us working it together. Yeah, and it's really paying off. And I just got a food truck also, so that's the next level right now. We're going to take the food truck to take it everywhere. Yeah.
Now, obviously you know more about fish than anybody has any reason to know, but
right.
The fishing in this community in Manning, South Carolina, of course, Santee Cooper Lakes are a lot of the reason why people come to this part of the world. I'm sure you do a lot of business with people who are here to fish.
Right, yeah, we get a lot of people every weekend that's just down here staying on the lake just to go fishing.
Yeah.
And catching some of the biggest crappies that I ever seen. Yeah, like some real good fishing down there. And I like to fish myself on the side.
Do you? What do you like to catch?
I'm a crappie man myself.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I love catching crappies.
When you catch a crappie and you fry them up fresh, and they just curl on the edges.
Some of them are so big you could fillet them.
Yeah.
They're so big down there. Yeah, so if I catch a big one, that's the best. I fillet it.
I think for a while, either the white or the black crappie, the world record was out of Santee Cooper for a while.
I think so, yeah. I think so too, yeah.
So,
and I think some of the catfish is top pound catfish down here also.
The channel cat world record, 58 pounds even, came out of the diversion canal, which is the 7.5-mile canal that connects Lake Marion to Lake Moultrie.
Right.
So, yeah, world record channel cats here.
Yeah, because people that come fish, they first time, and they always come back. Just traveling through and check it out. And some people actually move here just by fishing and checking out how beautiful the lakes are. And they're not even from down here, just passing through. Yeah.
I used to live a couple hours from here, so yeah, I'm in love with this area. And folks, when you get here, you got to try out Gullah Gullah Fish on Boyce Street in Manning. Look it up. Come see Craig. He'll make sure you leave very, very happy.
You won't be disappointed, trust me.
We absolutely guaranteed. Craig, thanks so much for visiting with us, man.
Nice
appreciate
to meet
you.
Yep, have a good one.
We got another guest, folks. I got the 2023 Angler of the Year. His name is Todd Goad. Todd, swing around behind the camera. Well, you're good. Come on. Welcome to Roundtable, Todd Goad.
Thank you for having me.
We're proud to have you, man. We're excited to have you. As I said, 2023 Angler of the Year. That means you got one of the coolest trophies I've ever seen. You've got the big gold shield trophy. Where is that in your home?
It's actually in my office because it's so heavy. I still haven't figured out a place in my shop that I want to put it, but I've got the banner that has all the lakes. It's like a poster board. I got it on the wall in the shop. So
nice. Well, putting that trophy in your office is a great place for it. That's where if I ever had a trophy that cool, which I won't, I'd put it in my office near from White Pine, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
And you've lived other places, but you're a Tennessee guy, born and raised, right?
Well, I grew up. I was 14, grew up right outside of Springfield, Missouri in Rogersville.
Gotcha.
So my dad started me fishing when I was a young kid. Used to go to Table Rock and the James River when the white bass would run up the river and catch a bunch of fish there. And my grandparents lived a couple hours, about 125 miles towards St. Louis, in a little town called Salem. And their farm was about 8 miles below the headwaters of the Merrimack River. So I spent my summers as a child wading the Merrimack River, throwing little rebel crawfishes at smallmouth and little Gullah Gullah and perch, and hunted and fished. And my grandparents, we just had a really amazing childhood.
That's a very different story than Alex Wilson was telling us, because Alex said nobody in his family really bass fish. You came up just ingrained in it.
Yep, come up in fishing in general. We used to go to Montauk State Park and go trout fishing. I mean, we caught crappie and trout, and we fished for a lot of different kind of species. But when we moved to East Tennessee, my dad got promoted in his job, and we moved there. And the first bass tournament I ever entered on Boone Lake, I was 16 years old and won the tournament. So I was hooked for life on that one. So.
I would hope so. That's an impressive way to get things started.
Yeah.
And speaking of winning bass tournaments and a lot of success, I have a lengthy list of Todd Goat accomplishments.
It's not that long.
Just in the NPFL.
It's not that long.
It's pretty long. It's pretty impressive. If I took your name out of the NPFL record book, it would be a noticeable diminishment of ink on the page, because you've done a lot of amazing things. And let's rattle off a couple of them here. You've got 9 top 10 finishes, including 7 top 10 finishes in a row, which is the league record. You've got 11 consecutive in the money finishes, league record. You've got 23 consecutive limits, which is tied for the league record with Jesse Millsaps. And you've never zeroed in 51 appearance days.
Hope to keep that streak going.
I think you will. I think you will. That's not the record, but that's only because you joined the league in its second year. Mm-hmm. And Timmy Reams and there are other guys who have fished more events, and so they've got a longer streak there. You've got a 4.76 bassing average, which means that on a Todd Goat average day, he's bringing 4.76 fish to the scales out of a possible 5, and that's 4th best career in the league. So those are wildly impressive numbers. And in fact, I wrote a story for the NPFL website a week or two ago about who's the GOAT of the NPFL, and Todd was one of just 5 names I put as a possibility in that. And Todd, I got to beat you up here. The one thing that keeps you from being a clear GOAT is you've yet to take home a regular season trophy.
I know, and it's it's the fire that keeps me going. I feel like a kid at heart. I feel like a 25-year-old kid. And I'm an elder statesman. I'm 57 years old, but I don't feel like it. I was out there today, chunking and winding, and just, I don't feel my age. And that is, when I read that article, it was a great piece that you wrote, by the way. But
well, thank you.
And that's another reason that trophy stays in my office, because it's a reminder every day. I'm very goal oriented and pretty self-motivating type person, and I really would love to win one of these before I hang it up. And everybody that bass fishes, everybody that does this at this level, they always say when it's your time, you're going to win. It's one of those, you can't fall out of the boat and get wet kind of thing. Everything goes your way. It's just one of those things. So hopefully I can notch that, and it'll happen when you least expect it. It really will.
Well, maybe it will, but I'm thinking that of all the your best ever performance in an NPFL event was right here at Santee Cooper in 2023 when you finished second to Patrick Walters.
Yeah, I'm tired of finishing second to him too. I hope he's watching.
There's a long list of guys who finished second to Patrick Walters.
Well, and I think I beat third by like 6 pounds in that event too. So it came down pretty much to me and him. And I made a decision after that event on day one, because that was a tough week. It was like the 3rd week of May. It was still cool. We were wearing bibs, and it was misty rain. There were fish still spawning, and it was tough to get a bite. And the first 20 minutes of the first morning, I had 2 for 10 pounds. Oof. And I had I had my weight at 11 o'clock, and I quit fishing pretty much. I started looking for other areas to try to expand on what I had found.
Right.
I'm never doing that again. I'm going to burn it to the ground on day one, because pretty much the amount of weight I lost to Patrick was the day one difference between him and I.
You could have culled up a little bit and made up that gap. Is that what you're saying?
There were two areas that I didn't realize they were as good as they were until day two, and I cracked them in both of those areas, and then day three was just a magical day. So I said, when I was driving home from that event, I said, I will never lay off a fish again. And that's twice I've done it, and it's twice that it's burnt me. And I should have just kept fishing.
You know, when I think about a multiple day event, and these NPFL events are 3 days, I think about fish management as being an important thing.
Well, I did too. That's why I did that.
Yeah, so you laid off them a little bit. And what you're telling me is not an unusual tactic. I've talked to many pros who have a lot of times a guy will have a target weight as he goes out there. He says, okay, I need 15 pounds, and that's a strong day, and then I'll go look for other ways to expand my pattern. And that burned you that time. So you're going to, as you say, you're just going to wear them out.
Yeah, I'm going to keep fishing, you know, and again, it was just one of those deals that I didn't really know how good the spot was, the area, until day two. And I was like, wow. And the first day I did lose a 5-pounder on a place that I'm pretty sure I caught that fish day two at the end of the day. One of my last culls was I made the same cast to the same target and caught a 5.5 pounder. So I think I caught that fish, but it was just, I don't know. It was just it was a special week. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great week, and it was, I hate we had to postpone a day, and we ended up fishing the final day on Sunday with no TV coverage, because Tanner, the photo shoot, the series of pictures that Tanner took, because he was with a guy local shooting that. And I even told him, I said, I'm getting down here. I'm going to catch one right down here in the next 50 yards, because there was just one special spot down there. And so he was kind of ready anyway. And when I set the hook on that 7-pounder, and he got that whole sequence, and you've posted it many times. Derek, the owner of Safe Haven, actually ordered some prints and has one of a big print. He actually gave it to me of me there right at the time that I stuck my hand in that fish's mouth.
Great shots.
But he went through the sequence in the camera after we landed the fish, and he didn't have internet service in that pocket. And he said, this was his exact words. He said, I'm going out to the main lake to post this on the website because this is the best sequence of pictures I've ever shot in my career.
Now, that's an amazing statement because Travis and Tanner Lyons are the best.
Absolutely.
In the industry at this. Nobody's better than these guys. And if for one of them to say it's the best set of images he's ever taken is a bold statement.
I'm sure he's topped it since then. But, at the time, it was a special. When I caught that fish for a moment, I was like, I might have just won this event.
Yeah.
But then I get back to the ramp, and, Patrick's dad's name is Todd. So Patrick got in before me, and Todd had already told him that I caught him. And when I pulled up to the ramp, I said, you got him, Pat? And he goes, I got about 17. And I was like, gosh, I just lost, because he sandbags every tournament. And I hope Brad does what he says he's going to do and penalize that joker for not updating the wayline, the catch thing in the Fishing Chaos app. So, but we give him a hard time about that. So, but anyway, I knew I had lost when he said he had 17, because when he says he has 17, he has 22, 21.
Wow, that's a lot of sandbagging right there.
That's a lot of sandbagging.
That's a lot of sandbagging. A pound or two you can do. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a different week. That was May. Here we are in very early March. We got some weather coming. We got some pretty significant winds, it looks like, coming Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday is an off day, but Thursday is scheduled to be day one of the tournament. But if it's dangerous out there, we're not going to be out on the water. We're going to be sitting that one out. And I hope it's not. I hope things settle down and you guys are able to get out there beginning Thursday. What would be your ideal conditions coming into this event? What would you like to see?
Well, I mean, we've got a little bit of a warming trend with temperatures. I mean, it's going to be cold in the morning. It's going to be like 29 degrees here, but I think that's the coldest morning of the week.
Yeah, it's going to get a little warmer through the final day.
And I think our off day, it's actually going to be 80 degrees, even though the wind's going to blow 50-mile-an-hour gusts. But and even through the event, it's going to be, upper 60s, I think. We're going to have pretty stable weather from a temperature standpoint. So I really didn't fish any areas I fished 2 years ago today. I looked at some other areas that I fished in the past, and in a lot of those I found a lot of cold, muddy water, and it was fresh mud too, and it's hard to get a bite in cold, muddy water. And
it's the worst.
It's the worst. And I did kind of ease around and got in some areas where the water would clean up. When I would make a little short move and the water would clear up just enough, I'd get a bite. And so I've kind of found a couple of backup areas if my primary area from a couple of years ago doesn't pan out. I've got a couple of areas that I think I can go, specifically throw at a target and get a bite.
All right. I've asked you this question before, but this is a new season. It's a new show. I want Todd Go to describe his fishing style for me without using the word versatile or a word that basically means versatile. Talk to me.
How about situational?
Oh, that's awfully close to versatile, Todd. Come on, you can do better than that.
Well, I mean, we come to these events, the conditions are different everywhere we go.
Absolutely. You got to. I get it that you have to adapt. I get it you have to diversify. I get it you have to.
Open-minded. How about that? Well, just tell me what you want me to say, Ken. Come on, dude. Come on. Tell me what you want me to say. I can do a lot. I can do a lot of different things. I can throw a chatterbait. I can throw a swim jig in the dirt. I can pitch a jig. I can do this. I can do that. And one thing I take a lot of pride in, and I've got to give Rick Clunn credit for this when I was a kid, because growing up and when I was in college, Kevin Van Dam was the guy, and he was winning. And they asked Rick Clunn why Kevin Van Dam was so good. And I'll never forget that. Rick Clunn said he still believes the impossible. And to this day, I'm 57 years old, I still believe the impossible. I've got methylate floating worms in my boat right now. You don't think if the water hits 60, 61 degrees, I'm going to be throwing a floating worm at Santee? I mean, I've been fortunate to fish all over the country. I've got a lot of experience. I've had some decent success throughout the years. I can do a lot of different things, and it's situational. And I think I can think my way through things on baits that I want to try to get a bite.
Hey, a guy doesn't accomplish what you've accomplished. A guy doesn't win Angler of the Year unless he can adapt to the situations, unless he can read the situations and give the fish what they want at that moment. But is there a particular style or technique that you feel like gives you the best chance to win? Maybe you can say to yourself, hey, yeah, I can get myself in the hunt with a drop shot, but if I can find some fish that'll hit a buzzbait, I'm going to be tough to beat.
I don't like to pigeonhole myself into one technique, but I'm pretty dang good with a jig.
There you go. Now, thank you.
So I've caught. There's one little jig that I've thrown since I've been with the NPFL, and I've probably made close to $100,000 on that one jig.
Wow.
With the NPFL.
Wow.
It's a jig that it just gets bites.
Is it a pulse jig?
It is not.
Okay.
Is it a
casting jig or a flipping jig? Or
it is a little football jig. It's a little 3/8 ounce football jig, and it's a color that you don't see. There's something about that jig. It must make a different sound in the cover.
You're not going to give it up to us, though.
I'm not giving it up because I've just caught too many fish on it, and I weighed in every single bass at Murray on it in December and finished 17th.
But you and I both know it's Todd Goad who works the magic with that jig. It's not the jig that works the magic with Todd Goad.
It's 50-50. And there's some other little nuances. There's stuff I do with the jig still that are it's amazing. It's not just tying a jig on and putting a trailer on it and going fishing. It's little nuances that I do to it and little sneaky things that, my close buddies, they know what I do to it and
So can I assume that jig is always tied on and ready to roll in your boat?
It's always tied on. Yep.
Is it a jig you're fishing on 12-pound fluorocarbon? Is it
that
something you
one's
throw
on,
in heavy cover? Is it?
That one's on 12. It's a really good jig for rocks and that kind of cover. It's not good in wood. It hangs up in wood. But I have a jig, a pulse jig. We actually have a new jig coming out with pulse fish. It's a HD all-purpose jig. It's a flipping style archetype jig.
Gotcha.
So I've got that tied on too.
All right. Now, when you win your first NPFL event, and you're using that jig, and it helps take you to the title, you're gonna open up and tell me that whole story. We're gonna get the news out there, right?
I will tell you the whole story, and another teaser. My first ever event at Cumberland with the NPFL. I think I finished 3rd or 4th in that. Every fish in that event I caught on that little jig.
That was a brutal event.
It was
a one-day event.
One-day shootout.
Rolled down to a one-day shootout. All right. Now, unlike Alex Wilson, your buddy who was just out here, you got to get on the water today. And I'm not going to ask you for a lot of details, but what does somebody with your level of accomplishments, the 2023 Angler of the Year, what are you trying to accomplish on day one of practice?
I am, and I wrote a column on this not too long ago. I rode around. I looked at a lot of one area of the lake, 10, 15-mile stretch of the lake. I looked at water clarity, water temperature, conditions. I went back in places. I came out to the mouth of places. I was really looking for, water conditions and clarity. And then I'd stop and fish a little bit and move on.
Gotcha. Now, here at Santee Cooper, that's a challenge because we got 171,000 surface acres here.
It is.
Do you have to say to yourself, I'm gonna just forget about 100 and whatever thousand, and I'm gonna focus on a much smaller area? Do you do that, or is that not part of your thinking?
So I'm going to show my age again here. So I'm a student of the game, if you haven't noticed.
I am well aware.
I'm a historian. I love the history of bass fishing, and I think I even wrote this in the column, about watching the Bass Masters on TNN and listening to Bob Cobb and all that stuff, But I learned something from Larry Nixon years ago.
Hey, good teachers there.
That's a good guy to listen to.
Bob Cobb, Larry Nixon, Rick Clunn. Come on. You're just name dropping Todd Goad.
One of the things he said way back when you go to a new lake is pick 2 or 3 areas of the lake and learn it. And I try to do that at every event, and I'll expand. And I'll run a lot of boat gas out of my boat too.
Gotcha.
But I end up trying to find an area of the lake that fits my style of fishing and my comfort level. So I want to be comfortable in an area, and then I'll start picking it apart and expanding on it once I do that. So to answer your question, I kind of start kind of big, and then I narrow it down to 2 or 3 areas, and that's kind of where I focus in on.
Okay, I like that. That's a great answer. Do you have a feel for? Will you be doing something very different tomorrow, or just expanding your area?
I'm going to expand the area, yeah.
Okay, but a lot of the same techniques.
A lot of the same techniques.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you have a feel for what it might take each day to stay in the hunt here?
It's weather dependent, and the water that is really stained and muddy. I think the person that finds the cleanest water, I'm sure there's fish spawning here already too. I saw 60, 61 degree water in a couple places.
Did you? Okay,
so
that's warmer than I thought you'd see.
I'm sure there are some spawners to be had. I don't know I think we're paying 42 places. I think I'm going to say 14 or 15 a day probably gets the last check.
But you still haven't thrown me a number. And I know you can't throw me a number precisely because so much is up in the air. And the weather is still quite up in the air.
A number for winning the event?
What does it take? How many pounds a day to win the event on average? Is it going to be 25?
It'll probably be 22, 23 a day.
Okay.
There'll be some large fish weight. This is it, even though the wind and the weather, it's still fish are coming, fish are wanting to spawn, fish they're wanting to do the deal. So you're going to see some big fish weighed in this event.
You mentioned a moment ago that you're doing a column on the National Professional Fishing League website. Now, first of all, I want to thank you for that because you do a great job.
Appreciate that.
You share a lot of wonderful information with people, and folks interested in learning more about how to catch bass, check out Todd Goad's column. Comes out every Thursday, and he does a terrific job with it. First of all, he's a wonderful writer.
Well, thank you.
And you give up some juice. He won't tell us about the little jig he throws, but the column's very forthcoming. Got to give you a hard time about that. Is that the first time you've done a column like that, or a blog about fishing? It is.
Yeah, I had some creative writing classes in high school and college, and I guess that's kind of transcended into writing, and it just kind of, it's kind of come pretty natural to me, actually. So I've really enjoyed doing it and sharing some knowledge, and I really think the people that read it, and hopefully they gain some stuff from it too, from some of the stuff I've learned over the years. And it's fun to share some of my history and talk about the personal stories of me and my dad and my grandfather fishing, and then throw some tips in there with it too. So it's a
wonderful mix of personal insight and fishing information and stuff like that. One thing I love about writing articles of any kind is it forces me to think about things in a different way. Do you have the same thought about the process?
A little bit, yeah. There was one not too long ago I started, and then it got me thinking about something else, and then it got me thinking about something. Well, yeah, maybe I do this, and then I do that, and then it just all culminated, and anybody really that has done this, excuse me, as long as I have, and I think you said it too. All you got to do is just take a walk around your boat, and there's plenty to write about.
You can't come up with 100 ideas after walking around your boat. You didn't look at your boat very carefully.
Correct. So, so it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be able to do that for the NPFL. I mean, this is my home. The NPFL has been so great to me. It's given me a platform. I've always wanted to fish at this level. Timing with my kids and softball and running the roads with them, playing travel ball, and then them getting college scholarships. I fished the one-day tournaments quite a bit back in the days, but it was family first. So it's amazing to be able to compete at this level, and just I don't want this to sound like I'm the most humble person ever. It isn't bragging, but it's very self-fulfilling for me to know that, yes, I can compete at this level.
Oh, hey, yeah.
So
a lot of guys can compete at this level, but you've excelled at this level. And I got one quick question for you. We don't have a lot of time, running out of time here. But the field this year is outrageously strong. Is that daunting on some level?
No, I love it. I mean, we all put our pants on the same way. I'm excited. I mean, I know a lot of those guys have come over here, and it's we were standing out in the parking lot before the meeting started, and it's Drew Cook and Brandon Cobb and Wes Logan and Shane LaHue and Patrick, and I mean there were a bunch of us standing out there, and I can't remember which one said it. It might have been Shane LaHue. Shane said, "This right here is the reason that I'm fishing the NPFL this year. This is amazing."
Yeah.
And I don't want to put Shane on the spot, but it's just family, and it's just the camaraderie is second to none.
I'm with you. Hey, Todd Goad, thank you for joining us on Roundtable, man.
Thank you, bud.
For the second time since I've been hosting, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be back tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. We're going to be in Eileen's Cafe, also in Manning. The tournament begins Thursday, March 6th. Live weigh-ins begin Thursday, Friday, Saturday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Join Big Al McCulley. He's going to bring the boom. Then live coverage of competition on Friday and Saturday with Luke Duncan and Fat Cat Newton. Starts at 8 a.m. on Friday and Saturday and ends at 1 p.m. on those days. Roundtable is going to be back tomorrow, as I said, at 7:30 Eastern. Do not miss it. My guests are going to be Corey Casey and Bill Lowen. We will catch you then.
I want to give a shout out to